Here's how you can get a faster refund by eliminating 5 crucial mistakes with the IRS. And if you don't know me, I'm Jasmine DiLucci. I'm a tax attorney, CPA, and enrolled agent. My day-to-day is actually running my CPA firm and my tax law firm, but I started posting on social media and created a free tax law community after a decade of practicing tax, because real tax help with actual tax law should be available to everyone. When the IRS wants money from you, they are not shy about asking you for it. Like these notices, they demand their money with significant interest and penalties, even if you made an accidental mistake. Or even if your accountant is the one who made the mistake, the IRS will assume that you were negligent and ask you for a 20% negligence penalty and make you fight them if you think they're wrong. But when the IRS owes you money, if you make a few of the common mistakes that I see, you may have to do what feels like moving mountains for them to cut you a check. So we'll go through the 5 most common mistakes I see as a tax attorney that you don't want to make if you actually want to receive your refund. And mistake number 5 on the list is one where even if you prove that the IRS owes you a refund, they no longer have to legally send it to you. Mistake number 1, putting direct deposit information on your return that is incorrect, incomplete, or soon to be outdated. This one's relatively straightforward, but it happens all the time. Triple check your routing and account information on your return and make sure that it's an account that you're not going to close anytime soon. What will happen is if the refund does bounce, you will not get a notification from your bank. The IRS will just change the refund to be sent via their backup payment method, which is mailing you a check to your physical address on your return, delaying your refund by weeks, which brings me to mistake number 2. So, mistake number 2, putting a physical address on your return that is incorrect, incomplete, or soon to be outdated. This is especially bad when you've already made mistake number 1, since now you are definitely not going to receive your refund timely. The most common mistake here is that people will put an address that is accurate at the time of filing, but one that they move out of within the next several months. Remember that while refunds can be quick, sometimes they can be delayed due to all sorts of issues with the IRS. You want to put an address on your return that you have access to for at least 6 months, and better practice would be for a full year until you file, so that you know you're going to get all of your IRS communications. So often that means putting a PO box or even putting a family member's address if you're moving soon. Because what will happen is if the IRS sends you a check in the mail, they assume you got it. So while you're sitting there thinking a refund's on its way or that the IRS has just been delinquent, the IRS is sitting there assuming you've got your refund and no additional steps need to be taken. Eventually, you'll probably realize that the mail forwarding never got to you and that you need to call the IRS and do what we call a refund trace, where they check to make sure that the check is undeposited so they can resend it, delaying your refund for many more weeks. Mistake number 3, payments on the return don't match your IRS transcripts. And if you're inside my free tax law community, then you know how to check your IRS transcripts, because I did a step-by-step workshop on it. And if you don't, then you make sure to get inside the free tax community. But the short version is that you'll want to check your IRS account transcript before filing to make sure the payments are there, like your estimate tax payments. Match the ones that are shown on your return, and you can also check your wage and income transcripts to make sure all of the documents for income and tax withholding match the return. What will happen is that the IRS is going to automatically match up your payments and income on your IRS transcripts to your tax return, and they will adjust your return if they're different, which can mean that your refund becomes a tax due on an IRS notice. For example, the most common issue I see here is that you've made payments to the IRS that you think went toward the current tax year, but they were either misapplied to another year or moved by the IRS to offset another tax balance. I've also seen situations where payments made on your behalf, like tax withholding from a real estate transaction, were cashed by the IRS but not credited to your account. An example of how this destroys your refund is you put a $51,000 payment on your tax return thinking that the IRS has it on file as well, but you didn't check your IRS transcripts, so you find out that they don't have it on your account, and you get this notice asking for $10,000 from you rather than paying you $41,000 in a refund. And of course, this happened in a real case because the withholding agent who sent in the tax on the taxpayer's behalf didn't give enough information to the IRS about whose account it was supposed to be credited to, so the IRS took the money but didn't give the taxpayer credit for it. Mistake number 4, okay? Filing later in the year after a co-parent or ex-spouse wrongly claims your dependents on his or her tax return. Not surprisingly, the IRS only lets one tax return claim a dependent. The definition itself of dependent doesn't allow for multiple people to qualify unless you're talking about two people filing a joint return. So the IRS will automatically give the credit to the person who claims the dependent first. So if you know you have a co-parent or ex-spouse who is likely to incorrectly claim your dependent on his or her tax return, you should file early in the year before that person does. What will happen is if you file second, then you will be the one getting an IRS CP11 notice adjusting down your refund or completely eliminating it, like this one. The IRS will say, we found an error on your return, and then make you prove otherwise if you meet the requirements to claim the dependent, and only after you provide your response does the IRS then go back to the person who first claimed the dependent to resolve the issue. It is so much easier if you just file first if you're the one who meets the requirements. Mistake number 5, missing the deadline to legally claim a refund. This one is catastrophic. It means that even though you are due a refund by the IRS doesn't have to give it to you. Do not ever let the IRS have this as a reason to not cut you a check. A very common scenario is with amended returns requesting a refund. So we know that amended returns take forever to process. So while you're waiting, often the deadline passes, and if you didn't keep proof you actually submitted it before the deadline, you may be out the money, and if you don't submit a thorough enough amended return with specificity, then the IRS can reject your submission, and if you're now outside the deadline at the time of rejection, you can't resubmit. So what's the deadline? The standard deadline is the later of 3 years from filing a timely return or 2 years from payment. And if you don't file until after 3 years from the original filing deadline, then you can only get a refund for payments made within the last 2 years. You might be thinking, Jasmine, how serious is this deadline? Surely this can't apply to me if the refund is someone else's fault. And like many tax questions, we can answer this with a court case in Wadlington v. Commissioner. The state of California issued an incorrect 1099-Rs for the taxpayer's state disability retirement payments. The state then sent corrected forms several years later, which reduced the amount of income tax that would have been owed. So the taxpayer, of course, filed amended returns now that the 1099-Rs resulted in less tax due. The IRS denied one of the refunds because it was outside the statute of limitations, which is that legal deadline of 3 years from filing or 2 years from payment. The tax court reminds us that the Supreme Court in 1997 found that there is not an exception for unfairness that extends this deadline. That's because the deadline is there for policy reasons, and extending it for occasional unfairness would create administrative problems. So even in a case where the state government itself created the injustice, the deadline does not move. So what will happen if you are outside the statute of limitations? Then the IRS will send you a notice agreeing to your refund and then zeroing it out, telling you that you are not within the legal period to receive it. So there you have it, the 5 most common mistakes I see when it comes to getting your money from the IRS. And if you want more actual tax law, then join my free actual tax law community, where I go through and give you free tax help, free IRS strategy, free monthly workshops, and a community board for free Q&A, because real tax help with actual tax law should be available to everyone. And as always, for actual tax law from a tax attorney, subscribe.